Welcome to the Kate Molland channel. My podcast is now in progress. Let's tune in.
I think what you said is a very good reason why we should do this self-exploration or self-searching, because on a spiritual side, participating in a dry January provides a great opportunity for the social and the solitary drinkers to explore their motives behind why they drink in the first place, regardless of the amount. I mean, why are you touching that stuff? Why are you drinking? Why do you think people drink alcohol, Kate?
Well, some people just, they need to take the, quote unquote edge off. So It's a way to kind of like a big exhale and feel just a little bit more gregarious or outgoing or able to more easily communicate with people. So I think that's why people drink, at least in social settings.
Mood changer?
It is a little bit of a mood changer where, technically alcohol is a depressant, but the reaction of alcohol allows a lot of people to be willing to engage in conversation with people that they may not necessarily know very well. So it kind of it eliminates an inhibition in that regard.
Okay, so would you say that maybe if you're getting together with your friends for a happy hour, that maybe a beer or a glass of wine can enhance sociability?
Yes, it allows people to communicate more openly, more fast, is how I feel.
Oh, okay, all right. On a negative note, do you think it can increase a sense of power?
I've seen it.
In a destructive way?
I've seen that. I can say I would believe that to be accurate.
Okay. Do you think it can make someone braver?
I believe I've seen that too.
All right.
It's crazy the things that alcohol is capable of reacting with every individual body in certain ways.
Okay. Would you say that alcohol could be a means of escaping your problems?
Absolutely.
Get away from it all. So would you say that's why a lot of females look forward to going to these ladies' night where they get all these drinks for free and they just let it all loose? They just drink and drink and drink as long as the drinks are coming free, dancing on top of tables, bumping all into everybody, spinning all over the place, and then going into the bathroom to vomit their guts out. Do you think that's all part of the escape plan?
I don't know if it's all part of the plan, but people are willing to go along with how it plays out. And, the whole concept of, ladies' night and it's just so I don't understand it. I've participated, but it's fascinating because you go and you're drinking to excess, and then just the more you drink, the more different you become. And it's not intentional, but I would say a lot of women use it as an excuse to behave in certain ways. Dancing on the tabletops. I wouldn't dance on a tabletop. Okay. If I'm on a tabletop, there's a problem.
All right. So then would you say that if it's not necessarily part of the escape plan, would you say it's part of the enjoyment plan?
Oh, those stories go on forever. So yeah, people enjoy the moment. They enjoy oh wow, can you believe I did that? And it's like, well, if you wouldn't have done it normally, why are you reveling in the fact that you did it under those circumstances?
Could drinking be a form of Halloween, but this time instead of wearing a masquerade, they're drinking? And so they're saying, okay, meaning like, okay, Halloween, I'm going to dress up and be something that I'm not. And you're going to understand that I'm going to be something that I'm not. So I'm going to act out a character because I got this costume on. So instead of wearing the costume, they drink. And so, okay, now that I've got this alcohol in my system, you'll understand why I'm acting a certain way, and I should be able to get away with it.
I think that people can use alcohol to behave a certain way that is typically what we find to be out of character for them.
Okay. Now, would you say that alcohol could be a coping mechanism, help you cope with the problem? Instead of running from it, he's saying, I can get through this problem a lot better if I had a glass of wine. I think I can get through this day a lot better if I had a beer.
Jay, people tell you it's a coping mechanism or that it can be, but I don't see how it solves any problems.
All right. So again, the bottom line is, I think participating in a dry January can reveal, as you said earlier, potential alcohol problems, including real symptoms of alcoholism that should be looked at. And if anything, it'll certainly give us a chance to see if we can control our impulses.
Well, I feel that, one thing that it could showcase immediately would be anxiety, because if you have to have a drink in order to be sociable around people, then that's creating anxiety if you can't have that drink and then be able to participate in a conversation with people that you may not know very well.
Okay.
So, it's concerning to me that people could be, I feel that it's important to know if you do have something like an anxiety issue, and that's how you're masking it, is being able to have like one or two drinks in order to then be sociable.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Let's just say, for example, someone agrees to take on a dry January and they get through it. Is that a sign that they can control their impulses versus someone who attempts to do the dry January and within 10 days they went and bought a six-pack and they're back on the booze again? Not even 10 days, maybe 15 days. So my question is, do you think that impulses play a role in determining whether or not someone could go through 30 days without alcohol who is in fact a social or solitary drinker? Do impulses play a role in this?
I would think that impulses do play a role, but the other issue I'm seeing, and I'm trying to think of the right way to articulate it. If you're not challenged, then you don't know what you can do. So if you don't challenge yourself to abstaining for 30 days, A, you don't know if you can. And B, if you don't have triggers, is the word I'll use. If you don't have, the bully that wants you to drink, or the situation that typically you might feel a little bit of anxiety with, and that's why the drink will make it easier for you to participate. If you don't have those things come at you, you don't know how strong you are.
In all that you said, do you see where impulses play a role? Urges?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can see where impulses play a role.
Okay. And so would you rather be around someone who could control their urges and impulses or someone who cannot?
Absolutely. I want to be around people who can control their urges, because, that goes back to the whole dating stuff about I don't want to be with somebody who's going to kill me.
Or yell at you or argue or go through your purse or do all kinds of unlawful things.
Right.
Because, there are a lot of things that people want to do, but they can control their impulses. They can control their urges. And that is why, again, I would emphasize a dry January to see if you can control your impulses. Can you control your urges? Because I don't think any social drinker or solitary drinker is not going to have the urge during the month of January if they've been drinking for years in a social way. There's going to be that urge, and that urge, like you said, could be encouraged or inspired by their friends or by an advertisement or by a commercial or by a bottle they have in the house that they have not even finished. The bottle's sitting over there and they're staring at it like, okay, I've got this urge, but now it's either going to be the bottle or me. Now, the reason why I say it's so important to understand your impulses, because anybody who is considered impulsive or who cannot control their impulses or urges, that has a disruptive effect on your life. It has a disruptive effect on all of your relationships, whether it's personal, professional, social, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, mother, father, it makes no difference. You're finished. Even your pets will fear you if you come at them impulsively because they did a boo-boo or something like that. So I feel, again, that participating in this dry January, how it can serve as a way of getting to know what's going on between you and not necessarily alcohol, but you and your urges, you and your impulses. We certainly do not want to be contributing to any of those negative statistics we talked about earlier, but we certainly don't want to be disruptive on our own journey, disruptive on our own path to why we are here and what we're supposed to be doing, because of a thing called impulses, because of a thing called urges. And so my point again is, I think any opportunity that you can have to test yourself and to examine yourself and find out what's going on with you, what is prompting you or urging you to make that phone call that you shouldn't make, or to respond to that text that you should not respond to, or to make that purchase you should not be purchasing, or to be with that guy, or to be with that girl, or to take that job or not take that job. What's behind all these decisions that you're making? And that's why I say maybe it's time, when it comes to dry January, to get the ball rolling, to take a look at where we are when it comes to our urges, to give our body and mind a chance to reset when it comes to alcohol. Maybe it's time to give non-alcoholic wines and beers and cocktails a chance. You ever hear of these things called mocktails?
I have heard of mocktails.
And they come in all kinds of different flavors. I don't think there's a drink out there that doesn't come in some form where they can design it for you without alcohol.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. I think for me, a concern would be I don't really drink, not to get too personal, but I don't drink juice. I don't drink soda. I'm kind of like a water, coffee, wine girl.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm curious as to what can be done that's not just, oh, here's your glass of water.
Okay, there are non-alcoholic wines on the market. You Google them. They pop up all over the place.
Okay.
That'll match whatever your taste buds require. Because, there's some wines where you can't even taste the alcohol anyway. There are some cocktails where you cannot taste the alcohol anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So now you're saying, okay, well, at least I'm going to control that aspect of my drinking to where I'm going to get the flavor. I'm going to get the pina colada I'm going to get the pina colada where I don't taste the alcohol anyway. And this time I know there's no alcohol in it. I'm going to still get the martini with no alcohol, but it does taste like a martini because the flavors are disguised pretty much. There are ginger beers. So there's all these things out on the market. Again, this is why we have so many flavorists and specialists to say, hey, look, you can have this instead of that. There's always this instead of that. You don't always have to go with that as if this doesn't exist or this as if that doesn't exist. So the options are out there. In your case, for example, yes. Just share with me how many gluten-free bakery items are there out there on the market? I mean, we think about, cupcakes and whatever bakery items we think of, we don't think about them in terms of gluten-free, but somebody who is in search of gluten-free bakery items, how many varieties of bakery items are there out there that are gluten-free? You tell me.
Oh, there's an infinite amount of things out there on the market. The question is, I'll sample things because I'll come across them and then I'm like, I don't think this is worth the price point. Or, maybe the flavors don't do it for me or the texture, or like I'll end up putting my, my baker hat on and being like, oh, the crumb.
Okay, I get that. You're on a search.
Yeah.
But why are you on the search?
Because I want to see what, maybe if what I make can fill a void.
Or you see the value of gluten-free.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
See, that's why I'm on a search, because I know the value of gluten-free, so I'm on the search to find a match for my taste buds. And if I cannot find it, then I'll bake it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But ultimately, you're on the search for gluten-free.
I am.
That's your first choice over the flavor, right? Because something that tastes good, but it's not gluten-free.
Well, then it doesn't do me any good if it's not gluten-free. So gluten-free is the first, mark on the list. There
we go. And that would apply also to dry January, because your first thing would be non-alcohol. Now we go through the flavors.
Okay.
And then you find your match.
That's okay. And I mean, I could say that I feel that more restaurants and bars have actually been showcasing their non-alcoholic beverages that aren't just, your sodas and your water, like something that their bartender actually makes. I'm
going to bring this up again about this wonderful opportunity to test your impulses this dry January, and why January is such an appropriate time, because you won't be doing it alone, that's for sure. There's all kinds of people around the world that will be participating in the dry January. There's all kinds of websites you can go to and for encouragement. This whole idea of January the 1st to begin your 30-day period of abstinence is just a way of maybe reflecting on not just why you drink alcohol, but also on why you do all the other things you do in life. So reflecting is the key word here, and not just on alcohol or maybe even your eating habits, but maybe your selection of friends, your choice of a mate, your choice of a job, the decisions that you make. Taking a moment to reflect on all the things that you are doing in your life that don't make any sense to you. I mean, how many times do we do things in a day and we say to ourselves, that made no sense? Why did I even do that? This is what I'm talking about, exploring that. I mean, it's your choice. I mean, we can travel through life like zombies with no direction, or we can find out who we are, where we're going, and why we do the things we do. Things that perpetuate the current circumstances that we don't want in our lives. That's why I feel there's a need to soul search and get to the bottom of the true meaning and purpose of who we are. See where I'm coming from?
I do. And if anything, participating in Dry January is really just utilizing a tool that you haven't utilized before. All of our coping mechanisms are really based on the tools we had at the time. And maybe this new tool is allowing us to reflect and have a different perspective into what it is that we're going through on a day-to-day basis and what is coming at us and how we want to reflexively respond without, taking inventory of, what our behaviors are.
And there you go.
Very nice.